A bear twice its size backs away. A wolf pack retreats. A mountain lion abandons its kill and disappears into the trees. The animal responsible for all of this weighs around 15 pounds. How does a creature smaller than most pet dogs dominate some of the harshest wilderness on Earth and steal food from predators that could swallow it whole? That question has puzzled researchers for decades. And the answer, when you understand what this animal is actually built for, will completely change the way you think about size, strength, and survival. Most people have heard of wolverines. Very few actually know what they are. The wolverine, Gulo, is not a small wolf. It is not related to the Wolverine from the comics. It is the largest land-dwelling member of the weasel family, a group that already produces, pound for pound, some of the most aggressive predators on the planet. Think about that family tree for a second. Weasels, badgers, wolverines, these are not gentle animals. They are built on a single principle: ferocity first, size second. Wolverines live in the remote boreal forests and Arctic tundra of North America, Europe, and Asia. Places most animals avoid, temperatures that drop to -40 degrees. Snow so deep it swallows smaller creatures entirely. This is the wolverine's home, and it has shaped every single thing about how this animal survives. The wolverine's body is essentially a biological weapon designed for one environment. Start with the claws. Semi-retractable, curved, and extraordinarily strong. Wolverines can dig through frozen ground and compacted snow that would stop most other animals cold. They use these claws to excavate dens, to tear open frozen carcasses, and to grip terrain on near vertical slopes. Then there is the jaw. The wolverine possesses a unique last upper molar that is rotated 90 degrees inward. This means it can generate crushing force from an angle that almost no other predator can match. It can shear through frozen meat and bone that would crack the teeth of animals 3 times its size. The bite force relative to body size is one of the highest recorded among mammals. And the fur. Wolverine fur has a unique structure that resists frost and ice buildup, which is why indigenous Arctic peoples have used it for centuries to line the edges of hoods. Ice crystals simply do not cling to it the way they do to other materials. In a blizzard that would ground most predators, the wolverine keeps moving. Here is where things get extraordinary. A wolverine will walk, not run, walk, directly into a pack of grey wolves feeding on a kill. It will lower its head, raise its back, release a spray of musk from its scent glands, and it will not stop moving forward. And in documented observations, the wolves leave. This is not a fluke. This behavior has been recorded multiple times across multiple regions. The wolverine does not win because it is stronger than a wolf. It wins because it has convinced the wolf that the cost of fighting is not worth the reward. It is pure psychological dominance. A 15-pound animal running a bluff so convincing that apex predators decide to walk away from their own meal. The wolverine's dominance is not just physical, it is geographic. A single male wolverine can maintain a home range of up to 600 square miles. That is larger than some cities, larger than many national parks. For an animal that weighs 15 pounds, this is almost incomprehensible. They cover this territory on foot, through the deepest snow, over mountain passes, across frozen rivers. Researchers tracking wolverines with GPS have recorded individuals traveling 30 or more miles in a single day, across rugged terrain. And they remember all of it. Wolverines are scatter hoarders. They cache food across enormous distances, burying meat under snow and returning weeks later. Studies suggest their spatial memory is exceptional, allowing them to relocate caches even after heavy snowfall has completely changed the landscape. One researcher described watching a wolverine walk in a straight line to a cache buried under 4 feet of fresh snow, with no visible marker. Straight line. No hesitation. For all its power, the wolverine's life is not easy. It is savage in both directions. Wolverines are primarily scavengers and opportunistic hunters. They need enormous amounts of food to sustain their metabolism in the cold. This means they are constantly moving, constantly searching, constantly competing. A wolverine that loses a territory to another wolverine or simply cannot find enough food through a hard winter will starve. Pups born in late winter dens depend entirely on the mother finding sufficient food in the hardest season of the year. Infant mortality in wolverine populations is high. The animals that survive to adulthood are, in a very literal sense, the ones who inherited the toughest genetics and the best instincts. Nature did not make the wolverine invincible. It made the wolverine relentless. The wolverine's greatest enemy is not a wolf or a bear. It is a warming planet. Wolverines depend on deep, persistent snowpack, specifically the kind of hard-packed late-spring snow that females use to build their maternity dens. The pups need that insulated snow den to survive their first weeks of life. As global temperatures rise, that snow arrives later and melts earlier. The window for successful denning is shrinking. In parts of the wolverine's North American range, researchers have recorded significant population declines correlated with reduced snowpack. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has proposed listing the wolverine as threatened under the Endangered Species Act at various points, though the status has shifted with changing administrations. An animal that can intimidate a wolf pack cannot intimidate a thermometer. So, back to the question we started with. How does a 15-pound animal dominate predators 10 times its size? How does it hold a territory larger than a city? How does it survive conditions that kill almost everything else? The answer is that the wolverine is not playing the same game as other predators. Larger predators compete on size and speed. The wolverine competes on something else entirely. Endurance, cold resistance, memory, jaw mechanics, and a willingness to escalate any confrontation past the point where a rational animal would back down. It wins not because it is the strongest animal in the room. It wins because it is the most committed. Every time. Without exception, in a world where most predators calculate risk, the wolverine has apparently decided the calculation is irrelevant. That is why it punches above every predator its size, and why, in the coldest, most brutal corners of this planet, it has survived for tens of thousands of years while far larger animals have disappeared. If you want more stories about the animals that defy everything we think we know about nature, subscribe. There is a lot more coming. And next time, we are looking at an animal that has not changed in over 300 million years. Because it found a design so perfect, evolution had no reason to touch it. You do not want to miss that one.